Hello friends, I'm Miss Deanna and I'm here at the Bell Road branch of the Newburgh-Chandler Public Library. And today we're going to imagine 2 stories. So the first story begins, once upon a time there was a family that had 6 children. And those 6 children would argue all the time. They'd argue over breakfast, they'd argue over lunch, they argued at dinner time. Whose turn was it to do the dishes? Who had to walk the dog? I didn't want to take out the trash. You should take out the trash. Whatever they did, they argued. The parents had had enough. They had tried numerous times to get the children to stop arguing, and they just wouldn't do it. So the parents said, go out and pick up some sticks. And they did. And they brought the sticks in. And the mother said, as she bundled all the sticks together, try and break this in half. So she gave it to the oldest child, who tried really hard. Couldn't do it. Gave it to the next oldest child. Couldn't do it. Well, the third child, who thought he was especially strong, he tried it. Couldn't do it. And all the way down to the very youngest child. Nobody could break the bundle of sticks. Then the father gave each child an individual stick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Each child took the stick up in their hand. And the father said, now try and break the stick. And each child could easily break that stick in half. And so the mother and the father reminded their children that together we are strong, but divided we are weak. And that's the lesson behind that story. Do you argue with anybody in your family? Oh, I bet you do. I know I do once in a while. And sometimes I argue with my friends or my coworkers. It's okay. We all argue once in a while, but we don't want to argue all the time. The second story is about Hercules. Oh, you remember Hercules, how strong Hercules was? Well, one day Hercules was walking down the road and he saw an apple in the middle of the road. Well, being Hercules, he kicked it. But instead of rolling away, the apple just got bigger. So he kicked it again. And the apple just got bigger. Then the goddess Athena showed up. Silly Hercules, that apple is like your problems. And the more you kick it, and the more you deal with things with anger, the bigger it's going to get. Well, that's a good lesson too, isn't it? Now, Hercules and Athena are a god and goddess from the Greek tradition. And I learned that Aesop, who told both of these stories, lived over 2,500 years ago, and he lived in Greece. Now, because it was so long ago, we don't really know very much about Aesop, or even if he even existed, but his stories have been told over and over and over again. What we think about that we know about him is that he was a slave, and so because he was a slave, A lot of his stories, the ones I've told, like the crow in the pitcher and the fox and the crane, they had animals in it. It was a way for Aesop and the other slaves to talk to one another about other people without those other people getting their feelings hurt. But because every story told a lesson, everybody learned something without being insulted, including the owners and the people in charge of the slaves. Aesop's stories became very, very famous. He became very, very wise, and eventually his stories earned him his freedom. And we have a lot of books in our library that retell Aesop's fables. But Aesop is not the only storyteller. There are storytellers all over the world. And we have a lot of those in our library too. We have books from the Native American tradition. We have this one called Pea Boy and other stories from Iran. This one is called African Tales. This one is Chinese Fables. We also have MacCoul, which is a fable from Ireland. We have The Wise Fool and other fables from the Islamic tradition. And we also have wisdom tales, or stories from all around the world. Now, all of these books I got in a very special section of our library. That section is, oh, I need room, 398. So even though it's the nonfiction section of the library, this is where you're going to find all kinds of stories, including fairy tales. You know, the ones that have dragons and a princess and knights in shining armor. Mother Goose tales are going to be in this section, or all different kinds of nursery rhymes. Legends like Paul Bunyan, and even stories about monsters. So the next time you come to the library, I hope you will check out 398. And if you can't find it, ask someone. We would be very happy to show you. So, what's your story? Can you imagine a story? What will you be? Where will you go? And what will you see? I think it's time for you to become a storyteller and maybe share your stories with other people. And maybe you'll be as famous as Aesop. And 2,000 years from now, people will still be telling your stories. Wouldn't that be fantastic? So this week, practice your storytelling. Enjoy some good books. Enjoy your friends and family. And until I see you again, we wave goodbye like this. We wave goodbye like this. We clap our hands and stomp our feet. We wave goodbye like this. Bye for now.